Yo, when you're studying Japanese, the absolute most important thing to do is not give up. If you're giving it an honest try, you're gonna get there sooner or later. And probably the easiest way to get there is staying consistent in your studies. Staying consistent in your studies will probably help prevent you going backwards too. As for me, I've studied Japanese for about 7.5 years now, and I've missed maybe 2 or 3 days. Breaking my over 3-year streak for the first time was really painful. But okay, Ty, we know you're crazy, but it's just not possible for someone with 2 jobs, 3 kids, 5 dogs, a cat, and 4 wives to study every day. And to that, I say, isn't 4 dogs enough? But even in a situation like that, I'd argue it's still possible. Here's my take. There's one very important thing you need to keep your studies going as consistent as possible. Well, 2. All right, there's 5. Number 1, decide you're going to do it. No matter what you believe, your brain is going to prove you right. So, mentally become the person who studies Japanese every day. There is no choice. If you ask yourself, am I going to study Japanese today? Your brain should be screaming yes before that sentence ends. Alternatively, if you believe you can't do it, your brain's also going to prove you right. Mindset is invaluable when taking such a long journey as studying Japanese is. If you want to know how long it'll take, check out my other video in the description. 2, habit tagging. What's something you enjoy doing every day? Drink tea? Drink coffee? Turn on your computer? Walk the dog? Congratulations! You now study Japanese before, during, or after that activity. Every time. No exceptions. When I started studying Japanese, something I did every day was turn on my computer. So I decided that I was going to study for an hour every day, every time I pressed the power button. No exceptions. And this studying happened before I did anything else on my computer. I actually made a rule. I couldn't open anything until my studying was done. This rule is actually pretty important because of how our brains work. If you know him, Dr. K on YouTube has a great explanation on this that I can't sum up in 30 seconds, but essentially it's avoiding getting on the dopamine train, as he calls it. Basically what the dopamine train is something that has an endless scroll bar and it's like social media or some sort of content, right? If you get on that train, it's gonna be almost impossible to get off until like way late in the day, which is how procrastination happens. Or you just stop studying in general. So if you want to study, no YouTube, no social media, nothing with an endless scroll bar until your studies are done. It's actually so huge. You should totally try it. Don't even try it for just learning Japanese. Try it for like studying whatever you're learning. Maybe if you're a college student, try this. Oh my God, it's actually insane. Link in the description to his video on that too. It's just so huge. 3rd, fail. Learning Japanese is a really fun journey. And you might be as excited as I was when I first started, and you might have all these study plans and stuff. And some people, might get overexcited and they put too much on themselves for their study plan. They'll do 3 hours a day, 8 hours a day, 5 hours a day, whatever. For me, 1 hour a day was realistic and it was sustainable over a long period of time. So you have to choose a time period that is going to work for you every day. Maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 15 minutes, maybe it's 20 minutes, whatever works. Thankfully for me, an hour a day was a suitable goal, but I did not always manage an hour a day. Sometimes I was just too busy with no time to study, and sometimes I just didn't have the mental space to study. I was too tired from whatever else happened that day, or maybe the day before. Something to remember is you can't do perfect. You're gonna miss days. Some days you're gonna feel like you're going backwards. You can't remember like the simple things that you were like totally fine with a week ago, and that's okay. You can't do perfect. You're gonna miss some days. Some days are just gonna be really tough for you. You're gonna feel like you're going backwards. Sometimes you're just gonna have these days where 2 minutes is the absolute maximum study time you can afford mentally. So no matter how hard you try, you're gonna miss your goal. That's okay. Fail. It's fine. You can't do perfect. You're a human. That's okay. But you can do your best, and your best doesn't look the same on every day. Sometimes that 2 minutes is your best. Let those 2 minutes be the worst studying you've ever done. Barely pay attention. It's all good. Spam good on every flashcard that you have. It's okay because you showed up, and that's a victory. Just do your best tomorrow. But perhaps most importantly, forgive yourself for yesterday. Do not try to do 2 days worth of study the day after you missed studying. Because first off, you already feel guilty for missing yesterday. So you're already stressed from that. Now you have double the study. So that's more stressful because that's way above your original goal anyway. And then before you know it, you didn't study that day either. And then the same thing happens the next day. And then the same thing happens the day after that. And the same thing happens the next day. And now it's been a month and you haven't studied any Japanese. We want to avoid that. So as a quick example, I've had days where I've also just flat out missed studying my core studies. Maybe I played like Pokemon or something in Japanese, but it definitely wasn't my core studies. And, oof. But I forgave myself for the day before, and then I studied like normal the day after. I've also had days where it's like 11 p.m. I just got out of my work. It was like New Year's, and I hadn't studied because I'd been too busy, and my friends picked me up, scarfed down dinner, and then they're like waiting for me outside. And I study in the car on my phone with no audio, speeding on the highway, music blaring, can't hear myself think. But I showed up, and that's a victory. Take those victories. Those are the victories that get you fluent. 4, look back. Remember that video game you checked out like 6 months ago and it was so difficult? You're just like, oh no, I'm not doing this right now. Go check it out again. Or that book, or that TV show, or that anime, or whatever. Go check it out again. It might not be easy still, but I think you'll notice a difference and it'll probably feel really nice. Use that as motivation. It's basically impossible for us to see our progress day to day. There's going to be a few days where you feel like you've gone backwards, or you can't remember what you thought was easy, or your focus isn't good, or whatever the problem might be. So when that happens, remember, that's part of the process. That's just what language learning is. There's no need to worry. Maybe end studies a little early today and then just go enjoy some video games in Japanese, or pick up that old one that was maybe a bit too difficult and just see the difference. It's really great for keeping motivation up. Really what this is check in with yourself and compare yourself to your past self, because then that really makes it clear how much you've actually progressed. 5, use a resource that will get you far. Having a good learning resource for your core studies means you'll keep your progress going. If you skip around with a bunch of different resources, you're going to learn and then reach the end of that. Now you're going to have to try to figure out, all right, where do I go from here? Then you swap to that resource, and now you have to figure out where you belong in that resource. And you learn from that resource, and then it runs out. And now you have to try to figure out what's your next resource. You find it, and now you have to find out where you belong in it. And then that resource runs out, and now we're stuck in an infinite loop. You should be studying Japanese, but instead you're just resource hunting. To put a cherry on top of this, not only are you constantly resource hopping or resource hunting, those resources probably aren't teaching you natural Japanese, how people actually use it and say it. Don't believe me? That's okay. Find a native, give them 3 random sentences from your textbook, maybe start, middle, and end or whatever, and just ask them if they would say that to anyone they know. The odds are the answer is going to be a big no. And even if it is a yes, have them record the sentence first, how they would read it, and then listen to the audio. It's not going to be the same. And if it is the same, they're probably recording it with the thought in mind that this is for a Japanese learner, which causes people to just slow down their speech for a learner. But I want to be really good. I don't want to be a learner forever. So I don't want to use language that is made for learners. I just want things that people say. For example, when I showed my fiance some sentences from a dictionary of Japanese, her reaction was, huh? All right, before I go any further, I want to let you know that I'm an affiliate with Native Shark, and if you sign up with my link, it helps support my channel. That said, I will never peddle something I don't believe in, and it comes with a free trial, and you don't need payment information when signing up. So if you want to try it, or if you're skeptical, give it a go. There's nothing to lose. Native Shark was perhaps the biggest thing for me in learning how natives actually speak instead of grammar books. Before its existence, I was doing a big hodgepodge of stuff. I had Anki decks made from newspaper articles. Check those sentences out, they're terrible. Reading grammar dictionaries. You gotta be a special kind of crazy to read grammar dictionaries, let alone twice like I did. And grammar books, which were both full of unnatural, bad sentences that no one's gonna really understand you with. Lots of resource hopping, and the audio was terrible, if there was any audio at all. Sadly, this really damaged my ability to comprehend naturally spoken Japanese, both sentence structure-wise, and how I would speak, and how to hear it when someone speaks it to me. Nobody is gonna fully pronounce their words if they're cracking open a can of beer with the boys. Or literally any other situation as well. Work or chilling. Here's an example.
あの人なんか変だね。あの人なんか変だね。
That wasn't cherry-picked. That was normal Japanese. If you know all the words in the sentence but couldn't hear it, Native Shark will help you. If you didn't know all the words, Native Shark will help you more. If you're like me and passed N1 more than 3 years ago, and maybe you're living in Japan, Native Shark will still help you because it teaches so much natural language. And that language is spoken by natives who have specifically been instructed, for the love of God, please stop speaking Japanese for learners when you're recording this. All right, maybe I paraphrased a bit on the instructions, but you get the point. And the reason I can say that it'll help you at all these levels is it's helping me now 7 years into my studies after having passed N1. So give it a shot, add it to your core studies. I highly recommend it. You don't have to think about where you are or what to do. You just go through it, you press the study now button, and you're learning really good quality Japanese that people use. So if you're curious about that, check out my link in the description. You get an extended free trial on top of your normal free trial. And the first 50 people to use that link and sub with it get $60 off of their yearly sub, which means next year you also get $60 off. Buy a bunch of Switch games to study with that. And it helps support my channel, so big thank you from me. Thanks for watching. Come chat with me in my Discord, link in the description. I have whatever other socials blah, 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 there. I'll see you in the next one.